First off, I want to thank everybody that came. I really appreciate you. This is very important to me to be able to communicate how I think is the best and most effective way to outreach and to reach and help others make the connection about what it means to go vegan and why we should go vegan and why we have a moral obligation to live vegan. We're not born with these tools. Sometimes we get stuck. We don't know how to respond to objections. We don't know how to respond when people get, give us all these kind of excuses. So hopefully after this workshop, you'll have some idea of maybe how to respond to the people that you're outreaching, whether it be on the street, whether it be your family, friends, or some random stranger that overheard you order vegan at a restaurant, which I'm sure we can all relate. We've had those conversations before, right? I'll tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Juan Endara. I co-founded SoFlo Animal Rights. SoFlo stands for South Florida Animal Rights. And we are an organization that our goal, our mission is really to bring together the community of activists throughout this Tri-County area, from West Palm Beach to Fort Lauderdale to Miami and even down to Homestead. I know we have some people here from Homestead and some people here all the way up from Port St. Lucie or Fort Pierce. So this is what it's all about, right? It's all of us getting to know each other, knowing that there are others out there fighting for animal rights just like we are. And it kind of motivates, inspires, and encourages us to continue pushing for animal liberation, knowing that others are fighting as well, even if they're not close to us. We, and when I say we, I mean the entire animal rights community, we are trying to grow the community for the animals, because without us, without you, they have no chance in hell, ever. People are always saying, well, what about human rights? Human rights first. There's always going to be human rights issues until the end of time. That means we'll never get to the animals if we only focus on human rights, right? So there's nothing wrong with fighting for animal rights. Obviously, you're all here, right? You can fight for animal rights while simultaneously fight for and defend human rights. They're not mutually exclusive. You can do both. So doing one isn't saying, I believe this is more important, although you might. It just happens to be this is what you're passionate about, this is what you fight for, and you're fighting for those who don't have a voice, right? The animals, if they could, they would go out, right, baby? Right, Shyla? If the animals could, they would go out on the street with picket signs and megaphones, and they would be protesting, saying, please stop killing us, please stop torturing us, please stop exploiting us, please stop the oppression, please stop enslaving us, and please stop killing us. We have a right to live. That's what they would do if they could. But they don't have that opportunity. So they need somebody to stand up and fight for their rights. We're not talking about their right to vote or their right to any of that garbage. We're talking about basic, universal rights, inherent rights that every single individual on this planet that is sentient and has been born has those rights, okay? They are sentient. They have the ability to feel pain. They have the ability to suffer. They don't want to feel pain. They don't want to suffer, and they want to live. And like I always say in my outreach conversations, their lives matter to them as much as your life matters to you. That you cannot argue that, right? Their lives might not matter to me, but that's not relevant, right? To the person that I'm outreaching. Maybe they don't care about animals, but it doesn't matter whether they care or not. It doesn't matter how they feel about animals. What matters is that the animal, they want to live. And their lives matter to them as much as your life matters to you, equally. And we're not saying humans or animals, which one's higher or whatever. We're not saying animals are higher than humans or anything like that. All we're saying is they want to live. I think you're going to get some really practical tools that will help you in any conversation ever. Because there is one response, and I'll share that with you in a minute. There is one response that you can use to any argument or any excuse that anybody gives you. If you don't know the correct response to a particular objection, you can default to this response, and it always works, no matter what. So if you can always just say the same thing over and over and over, it always works. So it makes your job easier. We don't have to be, we don't have to know everything. We don't have to watch every documentary, know every stat, know everything about everything. We don't. I used to think that we needed to do that. I'm like, man, I have all this knowledge and information that if I could just download to this person, they'll go vegan for sure. All I got to do is just transfer all this knowledge and information that I have, you know, and they'll go vegan. No, they won't go vegan. They won't go vegan. Knowledge and information doesn't help somebody go vegan. I mean, it's important, but really, the word of the day is going to be accountability. I might say that 1,000 times tonight. The way that people go vegan is not through knowledge and information, it's through holding themselves accountable. And the only way that they can hold themselves accountable is if somebody else begins to hold them accountable. And they don't even know most of the time, because a lot of us, I think, went through this. We weren't born vegan. I mean, we were born vegan, then we got socially conditioned. But at some point, we made the connection. We understood the basic principles of veganism. Once we understood that, we had a choice. We either continue living a lie, continue living knowing, or we go vegan. Those were our only two choices. And you all made the right choice, right? And the only reason you made the right choice, in my opinion, is because you held yourself accountable. You said, if I don't go vegan, then I'm responsible for unnecessary suffering of others. And the key word there is unnecessary. So we are trying to help others make that connection, become aware and recognize that they are also living a lie. And I'm going to give you some examples of how I outreach people and some things that I think, and obviously you can take what you learn from here and spin it and do it your own way. We're all different people with different personalities, but if you want to do it exactly how I do it, I welcome you to do that. I have found that it's been very effective. So you can just literally like copy paste, okay? There are certain key things that I make sure I always say in all outreach conversations, one way or another. I make sure that I always say them because I think they're very effective. So I try to insert that. So there's like 3 or 4 things I always say, and I will share that with everybody. I'm going to go ahead and get started with the slides. Like I said, yes?
You didn't tell us that one thing that answers all the questions.
That's going to be at the end to keep you here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'll share it with you, okay? When somebody gives you an objection that you don't know how to respond to, a lot of people have trouble with various different types of objections. I know that I did, or I still do sometimes. The one thing that you can tell or respond to them, somebody give me an objection that you have a challenge with.
It's indigenous culture to eat animals.
Indigenous culture to eat animals, okay. So indigenous culture to eat animals. All right. I may not know how to respond to that. The way to respond to something when you don't know is very simply this. From the perspective of the animals, from the perspective of the victims, if you were in the position of the animal, if you were the victim in this situation, if you were on the kill line at a slaughterhouse, looking at your friends and family getting slaughtered, hearing them getting slaughtered, smelling them getting slaughtered, if you were on the kill line, about to be slaughtered, would you accept what you just said as a justification to slit your throat? You wouldn't. She agrees. She agrees. You agree, baby. You say to them, do me a favor, close your eyes for just a few seconds, picture yourself in the slaughterhouse. What do you see? What do you smell? What do you hear? Now, you're in line and you're next. And somebody's fighting for you, for your life, for your rights. Somebody out there's fighting for your rights. And the person that they're having a conversation with says, well, it's cultural for me. Would you accept that as the victim that responds and say, oh, well, it is cultural for them. Go ahead and slit my throat. No, you wouldn't say that. So any objection that anybody gives you, if you were the victim, you wouldn't accept it. You would not accept it because people have other options. They have the option to not kill you. We're not trying to, there's an example here that I may share later where somebody said to me, well, what about that child in Africa who has no option than to eat an animal, okay? All right, first of all, and there's another word that you're going to hear a lot today is deflection, okay? Most of the time, people that we outreach don't really consider themselves bad people, right? So they try to find a reason or a justification why what they do must be okay, because I'm not a bad person, but I eat animals, I wear animals, I use animals, but I'm not a bad person, so there must be a reason why it's okay. Let me think about what that reason might be. And so they will give you the most ridiculous arguments. What about plants? Plants have feelings. Okay? They know they're full of shit when they say that. And I tell them straight up, I'm like, you're full of shit and you know it. I'm not going to respond to that. You can't compare plants to animals. You know that there's a big difference. They'll give you all kinds of, lions eat meat. Well, lions eat meat. They think they got us. Oh my gosh. So sometimes I do this. Like I did this once at a workshop. Some person said to me, yeah, but lions eat meat. And I said, oh my God, lions eat meat? Really? Hey, everybody. And I was talking to our group of activists. Hey, everybody, lions eat meat. We don't have to do this anymore. Okay, so I will kind of like make fun a little bit. And not make fun of them, but just kind of like to make a point. Okay? They think they have us with these gotcha questions. We've heard it all, right? If we've been doing this for a while, we've heard it all. If you're kind of relatively new, maybe you haven't heard it all, but you're going to hear it.
I think the most difficult one, and that you just have to walk away at this point, is when they say they just don't care about animals.
Uh-huh.
They don't care.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good one.
You can tell them whatever. They'll just say, I don't care.
Okay, that's a good one. I'm going to respond to that. Did you have a
I was
response?
just going to say about the dog barking, and then when you said to the person, if you're an imaginary person, oh, think about you being on the line.
Yeah.
People can't imagine themselves on the line because they're never going to be there. But you can say, what about your dog? Do you have a dog? You know, have you ever had a
Yeah. So there's
an
a
animal?
there's a slide in the AV workshop that specifically talks about not using your dog as a. Now again, if we knew exactly how to do it, right? Everybody be vegan. Like we're doing our best. We're doing what we think works based on trial and error. And the reason that they prefer that you put the person in the position instead of your dog is because even though they're never going to be in that situation, they can still visualize it. You can use an extreme example and say, if aliens come down, and they might start laughing and be like, okay, just hear me out for a second. If aliens come down and they start gathering humans and they start enslaving them and then exploiting them and then killing them for their meat, even though they can eat rocks or dirt or plants, they don't have to eat humans, but they like to eat humans because we taste good. Yeah. So if aliens come down and they start rounding us up, and there are some aliens that are human rights activists, right? And those human rights activist aliens are talking to other aliens that are eating humans. And this human rights activist says, listen, you don't have to eat humans. Humans are sentient. They want to live. Their lives matter to them as much as your life matters to you. You should continue to eat rocks and plants or whatever it is you eat because you don't have to eat humans, right? So you give them that kind of comparison and then they can visualize it, okay? Aliens could have human slaughterhouses, okay? And if you're in the kill line, I'm telling you, this works. Ask them to close their eyes and say, pretend that there's aliens and they have a human slaughterhouse and you're next in line. That might be better because now they can really visualize it. You're in line to get your throat slit. And one of the aliens is fighting for your rights, but the other alien says, well, they just taste good, or I don't care about humans, or God put humans on this universe for us to eat, or, any of that crap. The other alien is going to say, they're going to fight for our rights. So we're doing the same for the animals who don't have a voice, okay? Now, to answer your question, and I'm doing a lot of the workshop without the slides, but we're going to get into the slides. To answer your question, which was, I don't care about animals. I had that a couple weeks ago at one of our cubes. The guy was a little bit drunk, probably in his early 20s. He's like, I just don't give a about animals. I just don't care. A lot of the times they'll say, they'll respond back, well, children are not animals. So they're like kind of elevating the humans over the animals, right? And so then you have to kind of respond to that objection. So you're kind of like opening the door for them to give you that objection. Oh, you're comparing humans to children to animals, you know, kind of deal.
Vegans see animals as equals. I see animals as equals.
Okay, we're not going to go there with them because they're going to say we're not equals. Okay.
That's what their premise is. And our
Yeah.
premise is that
No, not necessarily. I don't think the animals are equal to humans, but I believe they have equal inherent rights.
well, that's right.
Okay? It's the same argument that used to be between other injustices. You know, men and women are not the same, but they deserve equal rights. Okay? So I don't like to go there because we don't speak for the community if we believe we're equal, because some of us don't believe we're equal. But that's not relevant. What's relevant is that the animal is sentient, wants to live. I'll give you my response. I know this is kind of taking a little long. My response to, and this is exactly what I said a couple weeks ago when somebody said to me, I don't care about animals. I said to them, I don't care that you don't care. You caring about animals is not relevant. It doesn't matter whether you care or not. I don't care about you, yet I don't have a right to harm you. Okay? Huh? Then they can say I don't care?
I feel like it's really important to bring it back to something they do care about, and they would absolutely look insane if they said they didn't, because you got to ground it back in reality.
However you think is best, that's great. I like to speak I'm being honest with them. I don't care that you don't care. We have a slide here later that says honesty is like the best thing you can do as an activist, okay? We're not trying to manipulate people. We're not trying to trick them into veganism. We're just trying to be honest. If you have other methods that might work for you, beautiful. I love it. I'm sharing what I think works. When I tell people I don't care that you don't care, I'm making a statement. I'm saying that how you feel about animals is not relevant. That's why, and we're going to talk about it here. I might as well just do the whole thing without the slides. We're going to talk about like friends not food, right? We see that all the time. Now, I'm kind of okay with it, but like there is a reason why that's not very effective, okay? Because what about my enemies? Can I harm my enemies? No.
I like to say neighbors because it's like someone you don't really know, but you
Yeah,
have to live near.
exactly. So I can only harm others if they are a threat to me. I can only defend myself. I cannot harm anybody just because I don't like them. So friends, not food, is not a very good animal rights message. It's basically saying you shouldn't harm your friends. Well, what if people don't care? Some people don't care about animals. They're not my friends. Fuck them. Excuse my language. Well, I don't care that you don't care. You still don't have a right. We're talking about rights. The rights. You know, I could be racist. I could not like a certain group of people. I could think I'm superior to them. Right? So just because I think that they are less than me, or I don't like them, or I don't care about them, does not give me the right to exploit them, enslave them, torture them, and kill them. I don't have that right. So my personal feelings about others is irrelevant. Yes?
You say when people go, well, we're animals too, they do it if they were on top.
They do it if?
I get people saying, like, the animals would do it to us if they ran the planet.
I hear that, yeah.
The animals would do it to us if?
If they were in charge.
If
Basically, if the roles were flipped, they're on the higher scale.
Yeah, gotcha. First of all the animals that people eat are docile, right? A cow is not going to attack a human. You know, it's just not the way it works. All these animals are domesticated animals, but that's another objection. And we're going to do some role playing. We can get into that in detail, but basically, animals that eat other animals or animals that would eat humans if they weren't in charge or whatever like that, well, that's not the case. And animals, see, the difference between humans and non-human animals is very simply this. They always bring up animals that eat other animals, right? But they never bring up like the animals that don't eat other animals, like elephants, hippos, these types of animals. They always talk about the animals that eat other animals, and then they try to justify why it's okay for us because we're also animals. So the major difference between animals that eat other animals and us is, number one, animals that eat other animals have to survive. They are true carnivores. They have to eat the flesh, process the nutrients, and get rid of it quick. Their intestinal tract is very short because they can't have that rotting flesh in them. Our intestinal tract is very long, right? So when we eat animal products, that is rotting flesh that is hurting us, right? We're not designed to eat animals, okay? Now, so the major difference is that they are true carnivores, we are not. We are technically omnivores. Like if we had to eat animals to survive in a survival situation, we can. But we're not in those situations. We're in a modern society in 2024. The other major difference that I think will address the question even more is the second major difference between us and non-human animals is that we have this thing called moral agency. We have the ability and the intelligence to understand the difference between right and wrong. Animals don't have that ability. They act based on instinct and based on survival. We also act on instinct and survival, but we also have this thing called moral agency, knowing between right and wrong, between having rights and not having rights, right? So when they say something like, well, lions eat meat, sometimes I'll give the example, well, yeah, lions also rape. So can I just go and rape somebody and when I'm in front of the judge say, well, judge, lions also rape? We can't use what happens in the animal kingdom as a justification for us to do the same thing. Okay? So just because lions eat meat doesn't give us, a free pass to also eat meat. So what is veganism? If you ask non-vegans, or let me rephrase that. If you ask pre-vegans, okay? Everybody is eventually going to go vegan. We're going to have a vegan world someday. Hopefully in our lifetime, who knows? But we are setting we are setting the roots for that to one day happen, right? Huh?
Vegan-ish world.
Well,
More vegan than it is now.
yes, we're trying to change. There needs to be a paradigm shift in humanity's consciousness about, harm and exploitation and oppression towards others. We're not trying to get people to change their diet. We're not trying to get people to do any of that. We're trying to change their mindset. Not so much their mindset. We're going to talk about it. A lot of times, most of the time, all of the time, we share the same values and beliefs. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But I wanted to ask, so if you ask a bunch of pre-vegans, what is veganism? You're going to get, if you ask 100 of them, you're going to get 100 different answers, especially because they have no idea. And not one of them is going to give you the right answer because they all think it's a diet of some sort, okay? We here, at least most of us, maybe some of you are new and maybe don't fully understand it. Even if you ask 100 activists what is veganism, you're probably going to get 100 different responses. And most of them are going to be somewhat correct or just different ways of saying the same thing. Okay? So, who's brave enough to give me a definition of veganism in a concise way?
Avoiding the harm and exploitation of other living beings as far as possible and practicable.
Avoiding the harm of other living beings,
Or sentient beings.
sentient beings, within what is possible and practicable. Okay, good. Anybody else? I saw a hand.
Yeah, very similar. To be against the use and abuse.
Say that again?
To be against the use and abuse of animals as much as practical and possible.
Beautiful. Anybody else?
A lifelong ethical boycott against the suffering and exploitation of animals.
I'm sorry, can you say that louder, please?
Lifelong ethical boycott against the suffering and exploitation of animals.
Oh, interesting. I haven't heard that one. Lifelong
Boycott.
boycott, ethical boycott.
Lifelong.
Got it. Lifelong ethical boycott.
Non-human animals.
Yes. So those are great answers.
Boycott against non-human animals.
Against the exploitation, right? Isn't that what you said? Against the exploitation of non-human. So all of those answers are correct, right? So I would expect them to be correct. You're animal rights activists. So I'm not trying to see if somebody doesn't know. What my point is that there's different ways of saying the same thing or different kind of interpretations of it. My and AV, and like if we simplify it to its most basic form, The previous AV slide, so AV has evolved over time through trial and error. They've changed their slides, they've changed their workshop. They have on YouTube holding non-vegans accountable that they had like 6 years ago. Then they kind of upgraded it to holding non-vegans accountable 2.0. Then they have 2.5. Now they have 3.0. So every time is an evolution based on trial and error, what they think is most effective. So in the next slide, it used to say veganism equals what Julian said. What was it that you said?
To be against the use and abuse of
So anti-animal abuse is what it used to say. So it said veganism equals anti-animal abuse, like in the most simplest form. Now, when I used to do these workshops with that slide, I would say, no, I disagree. It's anti-animal use and anti-animal abuse, right? And you did say the word use. Now it says being for animal rights. But I want to expand that a little bit. It's not just being for animal rights, but it's living in accordance with that. Right? Being for animal rights and living in accordance with those values. So, okay? Now, so I'll give an example here. When I talk to somebody, I'll usually tell them, look, this is one of the main things. So I remember I said there were 4 things that I always say. Okay, so this is one of the main things that I always say. I usually say, listen, if you ask 100 people randomly here on the street, are you for or against animal abuse, what do you think they're going to say? The person that I'm talking to, what do you think they're going to say? If I ask 100 people, are you for or against animal abuse? Against. Okay, how many of those are going to say against?
80, 90.
All. All.
Some people are like, it depends.
Hold on.
Well, it depends on if they hunt.
Hold on.
I would say 90.
Hold on.
People, they don't think that they.
Hold on. Most people, even those that know that they harm animals, are going to say they're against animal abuse. There might be 1 or 2 that are psychopaths, okay? Now, okay? So anyways, what I tell them is, I say, if I ask 100 people, what do you think most or all of them are going to say? They say against, okay? So I tell them, okay, so they say against. These are their values, not mine. Their values. I ask them a simple question, are you for or against animal abuse? They're going to say against. Their values, not mine. Their actions are over here. Their words, their actions, right? They say one thing, but do the exact opposite. So this is what I do in the work, in the outreach, when I'm outreaching. I'll use my hands. Your words, but your actions are over here. You say you're against animal abuse, but you pay for, fund, create a demand, are responsible for, and support animal abuse. These are your actions. Your words say one thing, and your actions say the complete opposite. What does that make you? A hypocrite. They always answer a hypocrite. Always. Like 100% of the time. They answer a hypocrite. Did I call them a hypocrite? They call themselves a hypocrite. That's very key. They arrived at that on their own. Okay? So I get to use that later towards the end of the conversation to wrap it up and to bring it home. I will remind them that they are hypocrites. And I didn't call them a hypocrite. They call themselves a hypocrite. So I'll use that towards the end when I wrap it up. So I also tell them, you know, we vegans get accused all the time of shoving our beliefs down your throat. Oh, yeah. You guys are always shoving your beliefs down my throat. Okay. I'm not shoving my beliefs down your throat. I'm shoving your beliefs down your throat. We share the same beliefs. You just told me you're against animal abuse. They're not my beliefs, they're your beliefs. I'm just shoving your beliefs down your throat because you're not acting in accordance with those values, with those beliefs. I'm shoving and reminding you that you are not acting in accordance and in alignment with your own beliefs. So we are not on the streets trying to change people's beliefs. We're not on the streets trying to change people's minds. As activists, as outreachers, okay, it is my opinion and my belief that most of society, most of the world share the same beliefs. There's an occasional person out there who's not going to share those beliefs, and they are psychopaths. Walk away, they are dangerous. Okay? But most people are against animal cruelty, especially because animals are innocent. They're like children. They didn't do anything to anybody. Right? So we're not shoving our beliefs down their throat, we're shoving their beliefs down their throat, and I tell them that. I tell them that our job, I literally say this to them, my job here as a voice for the animals is to help you become aware that your actions are not aligned with your values. That's my job. That's the only job that I have here, is to help you make that connection, to help you become aware that that is in fact what's happening here. Your actions are not aligned with your own values. My job here is not to tell you about health or the environment or any of that. My job here is, and I'll tell them this, literally I will say this, my job here is to hold you accountable for your actions. Because by me holding you accountable, you may begin to hold yourself accountable. And that's the path towards change. That's the only path towards change. There's no other path. So, a lot of people think that holding somebody accountable could be confrontational, could be, not effective. I'm telling you from 8 years of experience, it is the most effective way to help somebody make the connection. We're not there to be right. We're not there to debate. We're not there to argue. We are there to help them. We are there to help them. They are not our enemies. This isn't a I'm right, you're wrong situation. We are right, it's true. We are right, and they are wrong. That is true, and that is a fact. That's why AV has the truth signs. Truth is on our side. So we are right, and they are wrong. But that is not the approach that we go after. Would you rather be right, or would you rather be effective for the animals? What do the animals want? Do they want you to be right, or do they want you to be effective? Yes. Anybody? Effective. If the animal's looking at you and saying, well, he is right, but this person doesn't seem to be, they seem to be arguing, debating. I don't see this person changing. The animal's going to be like, well, you are right, that's true, but you're not helping me. Now, if this person is being effective and isn't coming from the mentality of being right, even though we are right and we know we're right, we're not there to be right. We're not there to walk away from that conversation and say, yep, I was right again, and they're wrong. They were wrong. That's not why we're there. If we're there for that, we are doing the animals a disservice. Yes?
How would you respond to someone saying vegans just think they're better than everybody?
Vegans just think they're better than everybody. Yes. Next question. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. Okay. I do sometimes joke around and like that, and they will laugh. Let me answer, unless it's related to that. Okay, let me just respond to that. So, what were the two words that I said are key in this presentation earlier? Accountability, and what was the other one that I said I'm going to say a lot here? Deflection. Okay? When you are talking to somebody about animal rights and veganism, be prepared, because it happens all the time, that they will throw at you some deflection tactic. And that is a deflection. Okay? I like to call pre-vegans that I'm outreaching masters of deflection. They are masters of deflection, and they don't even know it. They don't even know it. They're really good at it. They are really good at it, and they don't even know it. If we are not aware that they are deflecting, we fall trap into that deflection, and we go off on a tangent. And every time we go off on a tangent, that is minutes wasted, time wasted, energy wasted, and we are not helping the animals. What are they trying to do when they do that? They are trying to get us on a tangent. They are trying to get us on a tangent. If we are aware of that, we won't allow it. This is like a game of chess. Okay? They have strategies, we have strategies. And again, we're not trying to trick people or anything like that, but we need to be aware that every time somebody says something to us, 99% of the time, it's a deflection. 1% of the time, it might be genuine. Like, for example, somebody might say, but where do I get my protein? That could be a legitimate concern for people because they were taught their whole lives that you need protein from animals. The food pyramid always had meat, and all that kind of stuff, and that's where you get your protein. So, you have to decipher whether or not their objections are true and genuine or deflection points. So when they say that, what are they trying to do? They are trying to put you, the activist, on the defensive. If somebody says that to me, oh, you just think you're better than everybody else. Now I feel attacked. Now I have to defend myself about how I don't feel like that I'm just being a voice for the animals, that, all that kind of stuff. Or maybe I do feel like that, but it's not because I feel I'm better, it's because I just made the connection. It doesn't make me better. I was just fortunate that I somehow came across a life experience that helped me make the connection. It doesn't make me better than you. I just had the opportunity to make the connection. I can tell my story about how I went vegan, about how I made the connection. It doesn't make me better. You just haven't had the opportunity yet. You haven't had the opportunity yet. This is your opportunity. This is your chance to make the connection. Now, if you get it, if you understand, if you see what's happening, and you still don't change, then yeah, we are better. But who cares? That's not what it's about, right? We made the choice. All of you made the choice at that moment you made the connection. You had the choice. Either continue living a lie or go vegan. And you all made the right choice. If somebody has made the connection and they choose not to go vegan, knowingly they choose to continue the suffering and the death of innocent animals, then of course we're better. But it's not about that. It's kind of like saying, are we better than child abusers? Well, I would think so. But the difference between a child abuser and an animal abuser is that the child abuser usually knows they're doing something wrong. They know they're doing something wrong, and they still do it. So that's why we're better than child abusers, right? We can judge them. We can shame them because they know they're doing something wrong. Animal abusers have been conditioned in society to not even consider animals, to not even think about their rights, to think that it's normal, natural, and necessary to do what we do to animals, that we have to eat animals for our survival, for our health, that we need protein, that we need calcium. It is true that we need protein and calcium. I'm not saying we don't need it, but all that can be found in a properly planned plant-based diet. We don't need animals for these nutrients. But people believe that because that's what they've been taught. So the reason we don't judge non-vegans, right? We're not there to judge people. We're there to help them. That is, you have to go to an outreach event with the mentality, I'm here to help you. Not like I'm better than you and like I'm here to help you in that sense. I'm here to help you so that you can understand what I also didn't know at one point in my life. I'm here to help you because I want to help the animals. If I help you, not only did I help you, but I help the animals. And you don't know who you might impact. You don't know who's walking around. You don't know what kind of ripple effect you might have by helping somebody make the connection who may have a profound impact in the world through their connections. They may have a huge following. They may have resources to get the message out even further. This is like a pyramid, but it's not a scheme, okay? So you don't know who you might affect. So we always have to do the best that we can to communicate the message as effectively as possible without ego. If you have ego, if you walk into this with ego, you're doing a disservice to the animals. You're going to walk away feeling great, like, yeah, I was right. I am better than that person. That person didn't get it. Fucking animal abusers. If you have that attitude, you're not really helping them. You got to give people the benefit of the doubt that they are capable of change. If you walk into a conversation already making assumptions about the person you're talking to based on how they're dressed, based on how they talk, based on how they stand, based on anything, if you make, assumptions, you're doing the animals a disservice. You need to approach every conversation with a mentality that this person has the capacity to understand and change. That's the baseline, that's the premise. They might tell you otherwise based on the conversation. You might, after a few minutes of talking, say to yourself, well, I gave them the benefit of the doubt, but apparently I was wrong. You end the conversation, you say thank you for your time, and you move on to the next conversation. You don't waste your time with people that aren't ready. You don't waste your time with people that aren't ready. There's only so much time that we have. You can say something, I feel better, I am better than my previous self. It's not about me, it's about the animals. But I guess the point that I'm getting at is be aware of the deflection. That's number one. Oh, there's a deflection. How do I handle this? Do I answer it? Be careful if you answer it. I'm just saying, you can't answer it, but just be careful, because if you answer it, it just opened the door to talk about that. So the best thing you can do is don't even answer it. And I'm going to give you another example.
I was going to say a great way of knowing that, or asking them, finding out if it's a deflection worth wasting your time on, is asking them genuinely, well, if I answer you this question, is that what's stopping you from being vegan?
Yeah.
Because, and you can use that with everything.
Right.
Like if you're honestly starting to feel like this person is not genuine, just ask them, is this really your last concern?
Right.
Or do you have 5 or 10 more questions behind
Right.
it?
Yeah.
Like find out if they're being genuine. That question saved me
Exactly.
so much time.
So I love that. Remember I said you start with a baseline and you give people the benefit of the doubt, you don't make assumptions? When they give you an objection, the baseline is deflection. That's the assumption you're making. You are saying this is a deflection. Now try to find the reason why it's not a deflection. But I'm telling you, 99.99% of the time it's just a deflection. Okay? So I'll give you another example. This one comes up a lot. Well, what are your thoughts on abortion? Okay? Listen, everybody pull out your notepads and take notes. The response is, you don't answer that. You don't answer it. If you answer it, you're done. You are done. It doesn't matter if you think that your own beliefs on abortion are aligned with veganism. It doesn't matter, because there are pro-choice vegans and there are pro-life vegans. So that is irrelevant. If you answer the question on abortion, what are your thoughts on abortion? If you answer it, you fell trap into their cunning deflection tactics. So don't answer it. So this is what I say when people say, what are your thoughts on abortion? I said, that's not relevant to why I'm here today. Oh, but what are your right? What is your position on abortion? I just told you that's irrelevant. It has nothing to do with anything. Oh, but you're not telling me, so I already know the answer. No, you don't know the answer. I haven't said anything. You have no idea. You're going to guess. You have no idea, and I'm not going to talk about abortion because that's not why I'm here. Oh, okay, I understand you. And so they try to turn it. But if you don't allow it, as soon as you answer, oh yeah, I'm pro-choice, oh my God, forget it. Now you start talking about that. If you answer, I'm pro-life, oh, forget it. Now you start talking about that. So you know what I said to somebody once when they said that to me? What are your thoughts on abortion? And I said to them, I'm not going to answer that. It's irrelevant to why I'm here. I'm here to speak on behalf of the voiceless. Oh, but the children are voiceless too. Okay, but I'm here to speak today on behalf of the animals that you see on these screens. I'm not here to talk about anything else. And what you're doing is you're deflecting. You're trying to change and take us on a tangent. I will straight up tell them that. You're trying to take us on a tangent, and I'm not going to allow it. I'm not going to allow it. That's not why I'm here. One second. And then I'll say, and then this is what I said to them once. Listen, this sounds like it's an important topic to you. Why don't you set up a cube of abortion? Why don't you set up a cube of abortion here next to us? And when I walk by your cube, we can talk about that. Just set up a cube of abortion over here. When I walk back, if I stop, then we can talk about it. But you stopped with these images here, and this is what we're going to talk about. And I'm not going to allow you, respectfully, I'm not going to allow you to tangent the conversation. And you're not the only one that does it. Everybody does it. It's basic human behavior. I'll tell them this. It's basic human behavior. Everybody tries to deflect because they are trying to avoid accountability. And my job here as a voice for the animals is to hold you accountable so that you can begin to hold yourself accountable. My job here is to help you understand that your actions are not aligned with your values. That is my only job. You cannot say that you are against animal abuse while paying for animal abuse. Those two things can't happen simultaneously. You cannot say one thing and then pay for it to happen. It just can't happen. You're either against animal abuse and you don't pay for animal abuse, or you are for animal abuse and you're a psychopath. Let me know which one it is, because if you're the latter, I'm going to step away because I consider you a threat and a danger. But I will tell them, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that you're probably a good, decent human being and you're not a psychopath. And you already told me, by the way, that you're against animal abuse. So my only job here is to make you aware that your actions are not aligned with your values. I'm not here to talk about abortion. I'm not here to talk about any of that. So why am I able to do that? Because my default when they start talking is, here comes a deflection. Let's go. I'm ready. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the deflection. And how do I know they're going to deflect? Because it's basic human behavior. They don't think they're bad people, and they're trying to think of a reason why it's okay what they do, or they try to change the conversation to avoid accountability. Nobody wants to be held accountable. Yes?
I just want to say about this whole aligning your actions with your values. I understand the principle of that, and that's what I do. That's probably what everyone here is doing. It makes a lot of sense. But just my personal opinion, I think more people care less about that, and they care more about aligning their actions with what other people are doing, like their friends, their family. Because people want to fit in. They don't want weird social situations where people are, everyone here, if they're vegan, we've all been in weird social situations. People get defensive.
That is very true. That is very true. I don't disagree with that. However, although that's true, it doesn't justify what you are doing to these animals. It's true that you're going to be an outcast. It's true that people are going to look at you differently. And you still have an obligation to be vegan.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I just don't think people care enough. Not everyone, but a lot of people, generally speaking, once again, just my personal opinion, I don't think most people care enough about having that level of personal integrity. They care more about the comfort of just...
Okay, so what can we do about that?
I don't know. It's just one of
The first step is helping them make that connection. Because they might care enough. And I'll tell you why.
And of course, support helps too. If you do...
What?
Support helps. If you have a support network, people who, even if they're not vegan, they're like, you're right, I should be vegan too. Or if they are vegan or whatever.
Yeah.
It's always easier to do
Yeah,
things
a lot
if
of
people
them
around
say,
support what you do.
like, my family would disown me because we own cattle ranch or whatever, and that's what makes it
Okay,
so
so
hard for
the
them.
response to all of that is it doesn't matter from the perspective of the victims that your family will disown you. You don't have a right to cause them harm because it's unnecessary. They want to live. They have a right to live. Their life matters to them as much as your life matters to you. Whatever excuse you come up with does not justify the harm and violence that you are perpetuating on these innocent beings. So I don't care that your family's going to disown you. You deal with that. I don't care that you're going to be an outcast in society. You deal with that. You don't have a right to cause harm to others, period. And I don't care what excuses you come up with. I just don't. Now, when you tell them this, you might be right that everybody wants to fit in. Everybody wants to fit in. But we somehow got out of that mentality, right? Now, this is what I'm saying. When you hold somebody accountable and they start to hold themselves accountable, you know what happens after this conversation when they go to sleep? When they're in bed? They're thinking about it. They're thinking about it. Nobody wants to live as a hypocrite. And I'm going to go to the next slide. Don't worry. Nobody wants to live as a hypocrite. Nobody. They'd rather be an outcast than continue to live their life as a hypocrite. They might continue to live their life as a hypocrite for a few days, a few weeks, or something like that, but it's going to eat them up. It's going to eat them up because they weren't aware that their actions weren't aligned with their values. They were just living life like everybody else. They weren't aware. Now that they're aware, it's going to eat them up. So that's why it's important for us to hold them accountable, because every night they go to sleep, and I tell them this at the end of the conversation when I say, remember when you called yourself a hypocrite? Okay, I didn't call you a hypocrite. You called yourself a hypocrite, right? Because your actions are not aligned with your values. You get it. You're an intelligent human being. You understand what I'm saying here. Before this conversation, I grant you that you were not aware that your actions were not aligned with your values. I'll grant you that. Or maybe that you weren't even consciously ever gave it any thought. You never gave it any thought, you weren't aware, and you had a valid excuse. I didn't know. From this conversation going forward, you cannot use the I didn't know excuse anymore. You can't use it. You now know that your actions are not aligned with your values. You cannot unknow that. You now know the truth. So you cannot use the I didn't know excuse going forward. So from this point forward, you have two choices and only two choices. You can either continue to cause unnecessary harm, suffering, and death, pain, and torture, exploitation, enslavement, oppression toward these innocent beings. That's one choice you can have. Knowingly. You now know that you are causing this when you don't have to. And your second choice is live vegan. There is no third choice. Those are your only two choices. There's no third option. What do you want to do? How are you going to go forward from now on in your life? And I'll say to them, do you want to continue being a hypocrite for the rest of your life? And I'll point like this and I'll look. And they'll look with me into the future. And they will see the next 50 years living as a hypocrite. They will see them. I help them visualize a life of hypocrisy. I help them visualize that by pointing to the future and just looking, and they're looking with me. Do you want to continue to be a hypocrite, to live as a hypocrite for the rest of your life? Or do you want to make change today and go vegan? What do you choose? Oh, I'm going to start cutting back. I hear what you're saying. It makes sense. I'm going to start cutting back. They'll give you something like that. Go ahead.
I want to give one word that I feel sums the whole deal up.
Yes.
One word.
Okay.
Integrity.
Integrity, yes.
Integrity covers the whole.
Correct.
nine.
Beautiful. We're talking about integrity here, right? Sometimes what I will say to people is this. Whatever decision you make right now, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to tell you what's happening. I'm here to make you aware. What you do with that information is totally up to you. I know what I think you should do, but I can't force you to do anything. You are now aware, and now you, as an adult, have the choice. Make the right choice. Whatever choice you make today will define you as a person, will show your true character as a human being. Talking about integrity.
Integrity is so strong.
Right. So I like the word integrity and I like the word character. It will define you as a human being. It will tell me your true character. It will show whether or not you have integrity. Because if you leave here and you continue to pay for this, you continue to be the reason these animals are suffering, you have to live with that for the rest of your life, knowing that you are causing unnecessary harm to others when you don't have to. And I'll say this, if I have a group of people listening, I'll say, does anybody have the right to harm you? Does anybody have the right to enslave you? Does anybody have the right to torture you? Does anybody have the right to exploit you? Does anybody have the right to kill you? You don't want to be harmed. You don't want to be tortured. You don't want to be exploited. You don't want to be enslaved. You don't want to be killed. Nobody has a right to do any of that to you because it's unnecessary. What gives you all the right to do that to others when it's unnecessary? What gives you the right to do that to them when nobody has the right to do that to you? You don't want these things done to you. What gives you the right to do that to others? Most people are against bullfighting. Most people are against dog fighting. Most people are against things that doesn't require any change from them, any behavioral change. People can be against the circus, people can be against bullfighting, people can be against dog fighting. Why? Because it's easy. I don't have to do anything. I can just say I'm against it. But as soon as you bring up something that they are doing, then there's a problem. You can say to people, and I do say this towards the end of my conversation as well, what side of history do you want to be on, my friend?
Be on the kind and passionate.
Kind and passionate, but you're an animal rights activist, so you don't count. Okay, usually what will happen is you say, what side of history do you want to be on, my friend? And they'll just sit there and think. They don't answer because they know that either answer is not going to help them. If they say, I want to be on the wrong side of history, that doesn't make sense. I want to be on the right side of history, oh, I guess I got to go vegan. They don't want to answer because there is no good answer for them. So I'll say, what side of history do you want to be on, my friend? And then they won't answer, and I'll be like, do you want to be on the side of violence and injustice? Or do you want to be on the side of justice? We're not talking compassion here. We're not talking about how much we love animals. That's a bonus. Most people have compassion. Most people have empathy. Most people do love animals. But not having compassion, not having empathy, and not loving animals doesn't give somebody the right to harm them. Because then it's an easy out. Oh, I can harm them because I don't have compassion. Now, you can't use that in court. Yeah, I raped and killed this person, but it's okay, Your Honor, because I don't have compassion. I don't have empathy. So it's totally okay for me to do it. The judge is going to be like, send this guy to a mental hospital. Not having compassion does not excuse violence, torture, pain, suffering, and death. It just doesn't. All right, slide number 2. We're going to go through it quickly because most of the slides I've already talked about. Okay? So what is animal rights outreach? At its base, outreach is speaking up for the victims in the same way that you would want to be spoken for if you were in their position. If you're not sure how a conversation is going, put yourself in the animal's position and pretend you're looking at the conversation from the animal's position and say, would the animal like what I'm doing here? How I'm doing it? What I'm saying? How I'm saying it? Remember the example I gave? You could be right and they could be wrong, and you walk away with that conversation saying, yep, I was right and they were wrong, and they're going to walk away from that conversation thinking they were right and you were wrong because it's a debate. Everybody tries to reinforce their position in a debate situation. We're not here to debate. We're here to hold people accountable. We're here to remind them that their actions are not aligned. So from the animal's position, look up at yourself and say, is the animal seeing that I'm holding somebody accountable? So there's a slide here, I think it might be the next one, that says, we never have a 100% success rate when outreaching. I disagree with that. But it depends how you define success. They're probably referring to, does a person go vegan on the spot? Obviously, that never happens. Or, I mean, sometimes it does, right? Sometimes it does. But that's not how I define success. I define success as an activist because I don't have the power to force somebody to go vegan. Like, I don't have that power. But when people ask me, how many people have I turned vegan as an activist for 8.5 years? I say 1. They say, 1? That's it? All these 8 years, and you've only changed one person? That's right, me. I'm the only person that I changed because I can't change anybody else. I can influence, I can inspire, I can speak truth, but at the end of the day, the person going vegan was their own choice, their own decision. Okay? So, success to me is, did I speak for the animals the way I would want to be spoken for if I was in their position? If the answer is yes, success. What they do with that, whether they go vegan or not, is irrelevant because you don't have the control or the power to do anything about that. You can always try to improve your outreach. You can always try to enhance and improve and be better and be a better voice for the animals. That's always going to happen. No matter if you've been doing it for 10, 20, 30 years, you can always still improve. But I measure success. Did I hold this person accountable? If the answer is yes, success. Not harming others when it can be avoided, when it's unnecessary, is the bare minimum. And you don't get a pat on the back for doing the bare minimum, for doing what's right. You don't get a congratulations for doing what's right. We should do what's right because it's the right thing to do, period. Now, you are committing to going vegan. I'm glad that you made the connection. And I'm glad that you made the right choice to go vegan and to commit to going vegan and living vegan. I'm glad for that. I'm not giving him a pat on the back, but I am glad that you made the right choice. Now, the animals need your voice. So I recommend and suggest that you become a voice for the animals going forward, because nothing will change without your voice. The animals don't have a voice. They can't be out on the streets picketing and anything like that. The more people speak up for them, the faster we achieve animal liberation, the faster we get closer to a vegan world. Because what you're doing as a vegan is doing the bare minimum, and it's great that you made the connection, but you know,
We want other people to see
we
it,
want to create that, you know, exponential.
Yeah, so that they also know about like that reason that I'm not doing it no more.
Exactly.
That reason
Right.
should be enough for other people to stop. doing it
Perfect.
as well.
So find out your local community wherever you live. There's an animal rights community, I'm sure, somewhere in the area. Get in touch with them. Say, hey, how can I get involved? You can go to AAM, Animal Activism Mentorship. If you want to get involved, they will hook you up with a mentee. With a mentor that has experience as an activist. They will guide you, lead you, show you the way. They will be your mentor for 3 months. It's free of charge. You will understand how you can be a voice for the animals. There's many ways to be a voice. This is one way. This is outreach. Slide number 3. Okay, I'm just going to go through this quickly. Again, we're not trying to manipulate people into going vegan. We're not trying to trick them. We're not trying to lie to them. We're not trying to exaggerate. We're not trying to do any of that. We're just being honest. We're telling them what it is. What they do with that is up to them. So there's no trickery here. There's no magic set of words. All you have to do is hold somebody accountable. Planting seeds. Planting seeds is the idea that you said something, they're going to go home and think about it, and it may flourish or not. We may be inadvertently planting seeds, but that is not our goal. Our goal is not for them to walk away thinking. Our goal is to get it, and that's it. If you get it, you go vegan on the spot. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. You can help them not be scared by saying, I get it that you might not know how to live vegan, but you'll figure it out. But what's important is that you commit to it because you got it, because you understand. And you're going to go home, and today's going to be the best day of your life, because when I went vegan, it was the best day of my life. And everybody here that's an activist, if you ask them what was the best thing they ever did, is go vegan. What is their number one regret? That they didn't go vegan sooner. So you will remember this day as one of the best days of your life and one of the best decisions you've ever made. That's it. So we're not planting seeds. We're not planting seeds. Huh?
We also said we couldn't be vegan at one point.
We couldn't be vegan?
Yeah, like at one point, one of us said we couldn't be vegan.
Oh, yeah. So in my vegan presentation that I have with non-vegans, the first slide that I have is a quote. I could never go vegan, said every vegan, before going vegan. Right? So they can relate, because I know that when I'm talking to them, they're probably thinking, yeah, that sounds good and everything, but yeah, it's not for me. They don't see themselves changing something they've been doing their whole life. So if they can relate to me, if they can understand that I am them and they are me, then they can envision themselves going vegan. because I'm an example of somebody that said I could never go vegan. And so this is what I tell them. Not only did I go vegan, but now I'm out here on the streets talking to complete strangers about the rights of animals. So never say never, because maybe a year from now, you might be here speaking to strangers. You might be an animal rights activist. So this is very key. We don't pander. I already talked about this. We're not here to sugarcoat. We're not here to give people a pat on the back. We're not here to say, good job, you're almost there. We're not here for any of that. We're not here to be liked. I'm not out on the streets to be liked. Now, am I out on the streets to be disliked? No, I'm not trying to be disliked. But my main purpose and goal is not to be liked. I used to think that that would be effective. If they like me, they'll listen. So let me agree with them whenever they say something. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, you're vegetarian? Oh, awesome, you're almost there. And they'll be like, oh, okay, he likes, I like him because he's agreeing with me and he's giving me positive reinforcement, positive reassurance. I'm not there to be liked. I'm there to be a voice for the animals. If I'm there to be liked and I'm the animal and I'm looking at myself outreaching somebody and my main purpose is to be liked, me as the animal, I'm going to say, man, I wish you wouldn't focus so much on being liked and focus more on, holding them accountable. Okay? Exactly. So we're not there to be liked, but we're not there to be dicks. We're not there to be disliked. We're not there to be aggressive or angry or take out our anger on anybody. We're not there to be any of that. We're there to hold people accountable. I said at the beginning of this presentation, the key word of the day is accountability. I'm going to say it 1,000,000 times, and that is our one and only purpose as outreachers. There's other forms of activism that have other purposes and goals. As an outreacher, and see the difference between outreach and all other forms of activism is that all activists are outreachers. Not all activists do disruptions or protests. But all activists do outreach, even if they think they don't. Because outreach isn't just going to an AV cube and speaking to strangers on the street. Every time you open your mouth and you speak about animal rights, you are outreaching. Every time. If somebody asks you, why are you vegan? Boom, outreach. So outreach is one of the most important things that we can learn because we're constantly doing it. Okay? So we don't pander. Veganism is not love or compassion. We already talked about this. Veganism is about justice for animals. Justice. Doesn't matter whether we like them or not. It's about their rights. Period. The approach is pure honesty. I already said, if you are not sure about something, just be honest. You can't go wrong if you're honest. You cannot go. We don't have to lie. We are not in sales. We have truth on our side. You don't have to exaggerate anything. You don't have to lie. You don't have to go beat around the bush. You don't have to do any of that. All you have to do is be honest. If you're not sure about something, just be honest. I'll give a quick example. Some of you have heard this already. At a cube in Wynwood in Miami, we were having a cube, and this guy comes up to us. He's by himself. He's like, what about plants? What about plants? Plants have feelings. Plants are alive, blah, 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 blah. He was yelling, unhinged. So we kind of ignored him because we're like, okay, troll alert, right? We kind of ignored him. He walked away when nobody paid attention to him. He came back like an hour later. Well, what about plants? What about... And I said, okay, this is enough. So I went up to him and I go, excuse me, is there something I can help you with? He's like, well, what about plants? You guys are killing plants. So I said to him, listen, okay, there are two ways to respond to you. The way I normally respond and the way I'm going to respond now. He's looking at me like bewildered, like, what is this guy talking about? And I said, you're full of shit and you know it. You're full of shit and you know it. Can I be more honest than that? Because this is what I thought. He's full of shit and he knows it. So why don't I just say that? Why don't I just say the truth? You're full of shit, my friend. See, so I like to say my friend because they need to understand that I'm coming from a place of not ego. A place of I'm trying to help this person understand something. You're full of shit, my friend, and you know it. Don't come at us with this plants have feelings crap. You know that you're full of shit. Plants do not have feelings. It's not the same, slitting an animal's throat and cutting a carrot. You know that, I know that, you know that I know that, you know that I know that, you know that I know that, you know that. Okay? So cut the bullshit. If you have a question, I'm happy to answer it, but I'm not going to entertain the ridiculous argument that plants have feelings. If you have a real question, let me know, but I'm not going to go there, and you're not going to come here and be unhinged and be disrespectful to our activists and say some ridiculous crap. I'm not going to allow that. And I don't know what kind of day you're having, but you're not going to take it out on us. He looked at me, he's like, well, I was kind of having a bad day, and I did feel like taking that out on someone. And I was like, what? He did a 180. And so now we toned it down. We're having a conversation. I'm like, okay, I'm going to answer you the other way that I mentioned. I said there's two ways to answer you, the way I normally answer, the way I just answered. I didn't mean to or want to sound disrespectful to you, but I wanted to be honest with you that you're full of shit and you know it. Okay? So now I'm going to answer you the way I normally answer people when they come at us with this question, but they're not unhinged, is, listen, plants are not sentient because they can't feel, because you need two things to feel, to be sentient. You need a brain and you need a central nervous system. Okay? Plants have neither, so they don't have the ability and the capacity to feel. They might react to stimuli, they might grow in the direction of the sun, they might let out sounds when things are happening, but they don't have the ability to feel in the way that animals and humans feel. Okay? And you know this, okay? But they can't feel. So when you say, what about plants? Plants are not sentient, okay? And also, did you know, are you a plant rights activist, by the way? No. This is what I say to them. Are you a plant rights activist? Like, why are you so concerned about plants? Because if you were concerned about plants, did you know that more plants are killed to feed a non-vegan than to feed a vegan? Because we slaughter and kill 80 billion land animals every year on this planet, and what do they eat? Plants. So you, as a meat eater, are killing more animals and more plants than a vegan. So when you say, what about plants, you're acting as if vegans kill more plants than you. And you're actually killing 17 times more plant life than we are, because the plants are being eaten by the animals that you eat. But you don't really care about that, do you? You don't really care about that. I know the truth. That's why I said you're full of shit, and you know it, because you don't really care about plants. You're just deflecting. You're just using an excuse. And so when that happened, he turned it around. We had a very good conversation, outreach conversation. I gave him a card at the end, and he shook my hand. I didn't shake his hand. I don't usually shake people's hand unless they reach out to shake my hand. So he thanked me for the conversation. He took an AV card, and then he went out and shook my hand. Thank you for your time, and he walked away. So a completely unhinged person can be outreached if you give them the benefit of the doubt. If you start with that baseline, even if they're unhinged, even if they look like a troll, even if they smell like a troll, give them the benefit of the doubt, because you never know. You never know. Now, let me move on. How are we doing on time? Okay, I'll be wrapping up soon. We talked about speaking boldly. Don't be afraid, speak boldly. Okay, we don't talk health and environment because veganism has nothing to do with health and the environment. Those are benefits of going vegan, but going vegan is, what was the first slide? What was the first slide? Vegan equals? Being vegan equals being for animal rights. What does that have to do with health and the environment? Nothing, okay? So we don't talk health and environment as activists when we're talking about animal rights. If you are an environmentalist, talk all about the environment all you want when you have the environmentalist hat on. If you're a health advocate, talk all about health all you want when you're wearing the health advocate hat. When you are talking about animal rights, you focus on animal rights. Because if you don't, you are doing a disservice to the animals because you're telling the person that you're talking to that animal rights in and of itself, by itself, is not strong enough an argument to not harm them. I need to use other arguments like there's a benefit to you if you stop killing them. There's a benefit to the environment if you stop killing them. So I need more reasons to get you to understand about why you should be vegan. No, we don't need those reasons. There's one reason alone that stands strong on its own. They want to live. They have a right to live. Their lives matter to them as much as your life matters to you. That's all I need. I don't need any other reasons why you should live vegan. That's all. So if you focus on that, they'll get it. If you start talking about health and environment, you're missing the point, okay? Now, we don't bring it up ourselves, but if they have a health question, sure, answer it. Be concise, bring it back to holding them accountable, okay? Which, by the way, most people don't even care about health or the environment. They just don't. So if you talk about health and environment, you're kind of wasting your time because most people don't care. They pretend they care. They think recycling at home makes them an environmentalist. Oh, I recycle at home. I care about the planet. No, you don't. You don't care about anybody but yourself. I don't say this to them, but my point is that most people only care about themselves. It's the truth. They don't really care about health. They don't even care about themselves because they're not healthy. They smoke, they drink, they eat really bad. They don't care. So if you focus on things they don't care about, you're wasting your time. The one thing I do say about health, okay, when it does come up, because remember I said most of the time they're deflections when they talk to you? 99% of the time, 1% of the time they have a genuine question. Well, a lot of the genuine questions revolve around health because they've been taught their whole lives that they need to eat animals to be healthy. Okay, so when they ask me a genuine question about health, I'll say this. Listen, all I can tell you is this. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which consists of over 100,000 of the world's leading experts on nutrition. They are the experts. They have come out with a position statement that unequivocally states every single human being on this planet, and I'm paraphrasing here, but look it up, every single human being on this planet can live healthy as a vegan through a properly planned plant-based diet. Every single one of us, there is no exceptions. From infancy all the way to old age, athletes, pregnant women, anybody that you can think of, according to the experts on nutrition, can be healthy as a vegan. So if you disagree with that, you're not disagreeing with me, you're disagreeing with the experts. So all I can tell you, and I don't spend too much time on health, listen, if you have health concerns, nutritionfacts.org will answer all your questions. Okay, we talked about which injustices to compare to. We try to avoid the dog comparison because you don't know if you're talking to somebody that doesn't care about dogs. Maybe they breed dogs for fighting and sell them. Maybe they don't care about dogs. So it's not the best comparison. The best comparison is putting them in the position of the victim, asking them to close their eyes, envision, see, what do you see around you? What do you smell? What do you hear? Have them close their eyes, and they will literally see themselves in a slaughterhouse, and then they'll get it. We're not statisticians. We're not out here to talk about stats. Oh, did you know, X amount of this or X amount of that? Because stats change all the time. They may have different information than you, and we're just kind of wasting our time because we're not holding them accountable when we're talking about statistics. Reachability and conversation length. Sometimes you encounter somebody that you recognize you're just not going to get through. They're not reachable. They're not reachable. Your parents might not be reachable. There's nothing more you can do. Okay? If you encounter somebody at an outreach event that you've decided, now you give them the benefit of the doubt to start, because if I would have decided that this guy that was unhinged was not reachable without giving him a chance, I wouldn't have had that really good conversation with him because I made a prejudgment on him. Give them a chance. Once you give them a chance, and then you determine that they're not reachable, then you say, listen, I understand thank you so much for your time. Have a good day. Here's some more information if you like. No? Okay, yes, no? Okay, thank you for your time. I appreciate you. Have a good day. And you walk away. Then they're going to walk away being like, damn, did he just like end the conversation? I must not have been reachable. Yes.
How do we approach, or do we not approach drunk people, or how does that?
They're just not gonna remember the combo.
Yeah.
I usually avoid,
Yeah.
but I don't know how, like,
Well, I mean, what do you think? A drunk person is probably not going to be reachable. They're not going to be reachable in that moment. They might be reachable as a person, but in that moment, they're not reachable. And even if they are, they're not going to remember.
is there like does AB say anything about that?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But if you encounter a drunk person, you just walk away. Don't even interact or entertain.
I usually avoid.
I've had successful conversations with, tipsy people.
Well,
But,
well, earlier I said that I was at a cube, that some guy came up to me, he said, I don't care about animals. And I mentioned that he was drunk. Okay? The reason I entertained that, or I said to him, I don't care what you think, is because he had friends that were there who were not drunk. So I'm not actually outreaching him, because he's gone. Okay? In the moment, he's gone. But everybody else has ears. Even though I'm talking to him, I'm really outreaching the other people. So what happened is all of his friends left except one. One of them stayed, and they stayed for about a 10-minute conversation. And at the beginning of the conversation, he said to me, oh, I'm sorry about him, he's just drunk. And I'm like, well, yeah, I figured that out. But he apologized for him, and he's like, well, what about, and then he started giving me objections, and then we had a typical outreach conversation, and I held him accountable, and he shook my hand, took a card, and walked away. So try to stay away from, drunk people, but if they have friends who are not drunk, you might want to address them.
Same approach with trolls. With trolls, they often have friends that they're
Yeah.
trolling for.
Yeah.
This guy might be trolling, but are you?
Some of the most successful conversations I've been at
100%.
just like joke back and forth with the troll, and you're reaching out to his friends.
Yeah.
When the troll leaves, if one or two of those friends stay,
Yeah. And trolls are actually good for us. They help us. Because their friend is looking at this troll and be like, did he just say that? Seriously? Is that his argument? They'll see a troll they'll know a troll when they see one. Conversation length. How long does it take to hold somebody accountable? I can do it in 2 minutes. I'm not saying have your conversations be only 2 minutes, because there is some back and forth. You will have to answer some of their objections. So it can go, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. But beyond 15 minutes, something's wrong. And what I mean is something's wrong is they're probably giving you objections. You're answering the objections. They don't acknowledge the response you gave them. They move to the next objection. They move to the next deflection. They do everything in their power to avoid accountability. They don't acknowledge the response you gave them because they can't respond back to it because you gave them a good response. So when they give you an objection and you respond, they move to another objection. You say, hold on 1 second, hold on. Before we move on, what do you think about what I just said? Open-ended question. What do you think about, don't say, do you agree with what I just said? That's a yes or no question. You don't get any information by a yes or no answer. You say, what do you think about what I just said? Before, I want to get to the next question. Trust me, I'm going to address the next question. But before we move on, what do you think about what I just said to your previous question? Have them respond. Okay?
A plant doesn't have a voice. So therefore it cannot scream. But it still dies the same way. So every time you kill a plant, you're taking away oxygen that we have to breathe.
Hey, I'm willing to have a conversation with you, sir. We're going to have an adult conversation. Is that cool? I want to answer.
100%. I am always down for an intelligent adult conversation.
Okay, perfect. My friend, just hear me out real quick. Okay?
I will listen to you. How long do you listen to me in return?
Of course.
I'm Eric.
We're Juan. Good to meet you.
Juan, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, baby.
We here are here to fight on behalf of the animals. We are an animal rights group. We are not an environmental group.
I understand what you're doing.
However, when somebody brings up the topic of environmental issues, we are kind of forced to address those concerns and put those concerns to bed. So for example, if you bring up the idea that us as vegans killing plants is reducing the oxygen in the air because of the plants we're killing, our response is very simply this. The animal agriculture industry kills way more plants around the world to make room for animal agriculture, for grazing, for soy production. So in 1 second, let me finish. So, to address that concern about the oxygen in the air, I've just answered it by saying that animal agriculture is a bigger culprit than plant agriculture. Because, okay, so that puts that to bed. So now the next...
No, it doesn't put to bed.
Okay, so now go ahead.
So my question to you is, very simple. Please explain your exact stance of why you're here with, wait, let that end. With V for Mandela, which I've seen that movie 1,000 times, I love that movie, and videos that show animals going down, oh my god, the little baby duckies are getting killed. Please, I just want to understand your stance. Sure. I want to understand your side.
I will. That's a great question.
Tell me.
Before I answer it, I would like to offer you the opportunity to tell me what you think my answer would be to you.
No, that's my question. My question is for you to tell me where you are at.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Why do you feel this way? Why does this and this apply to your stance? We are having to talk.
I wanted to give you the opportunity to maybe try to guess over here, but I'm going to.
No, I don't want to guess. I want you to tell me.
It's fine. We're not.
The only way I want to understand your side.
Okay.
If you tell me point blank what you represent, what your stance is, that's the only way I can ever understand where you're coming from.
Perfect, and I appreciate that. So I'm going to try to simplify it. We are a group of animal rights activists who are here to bring awareness to the public about the cruelty that they're responsible for that most of the public claims they are against. So I'm going to give you an example. If I ask 100 people randomly on the street, excuse me sir, are you for or against animal cruelty? What do you think they will say?
No, I don't want to know animal cruelty.
Right. So I'm just... So
you're asking the right question.
No, hold on. I'm telling you why we're here. So, if people's values are that they are against animal cruelty, they were not my values. I asked 100 people and everybody told me they were against animal cruelty, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, if that's true, and most people are against animal cruelty, our job here is to bring awareness to them that they may not be aware consciously, and it's not their fault, that they are funding and creating a demand for something they claim to be against. So the question is, if you are against something, but you pay for and create a demand for that which you say you're against, what does that make you? Okay, so is there a word for that you can think of? A hypocrite. Okay, so our job here is to basically help people come to the realization that their actions are not aligned with their own values. We are not trying to tell people what to do. We are not trying to shove our beliefs down people's throats. We are trying to shove their beliefs down their throats because they already believe our beliefs are wrong. So we're only here to help people. We are not here to argue. We are not here for any of that. We're here to help people understand that they are doing something that they claim to be against. What they do with that information is completely up to them. I cannot force anybody to do anything. I can only help them recognize that truth.
Right. So here's my question.
Sure.
To you and your organization, define animal cruelty.
Okay. Their lives matter to them as much as your life matters to you.
I agree.
Okay. All animals, all sentient beings on this planet.
Oh, sentient beings.
Animals.
All right. So what's ahead of us? Is that not a sentient being? What's a tree?
Okay, so
what's a fruit on a tree?
Can you let me answer or no?
Please, absolutely.
You're interrupting me. I'm trying to answer you. Do you know what sentience means?
Yes, absolutely.
What is the definition of sentience?
Sentient is someone who is apparently has a soul. And if you grow into a soul, then they consider you to be soulful, it makes you a sentient being.
So scientifically, what the definition of sentience means is the ability to feel pain and to suffer.
Okay.
Plant, in order to have sentience, you need two things. You need a central nervous system
That trees don't have?
and a brain. You need a central nervous system.
Now we get into the debate.
Sir, listen to me real quick. Plants cannot feel in the way that animals and humans can.
So let me ask you this question. What are the defense mechanisms that plants have to stop them from getting deteriorated, eaten by other predators? Like maybe a Venus flytrap. What are their defense mechanisms? Why would a plant have a defense mechanism if they didn't feel pain? If they didn't feel like, I don't want to die?
Okay, I'm going to answer that. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. All animals have the ability want to evade danger.
We're not talking about animals. My question was about plants.
I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there.
All right.
They have been given by God or nature, whatever you believe in, the ability to evade danger. They have legs to run, fins to swim, wings to fly.
Plants don't have that.
Correct. And the reason they don't have that is because they are intended to be eaten. Okay?
Some plants secrete a specific enzyme that makes them taste less palatable to other.
I'm going to respond and then I'm done.
Okay, we can be done because clearly you don't want to hear both sides of the story. You're only in your own little tunnel. What I have to say doesn't matter to you.
I'm going to be 100% frank and honest with you.
Please do.
The plants have feelings argument is so much bullshit that you know it's bullshit.
No,
I'm not done.
Because plants have defense mechanisms for a reason.
I'm not done.
That's why
we already explained that more plants are killed to feed a non-vegan than to feed a vegan.
I agree with that.
Okay, so we as vegans kill less plants and less animals. We are doing our best to try to live in a way that causes the least amount of suffering, pain, harm, and death, if it can be avoided.
And I applaud that.
We're not here to be applauded, my friend.
So here's my question.
Yes.
If you're speaking about a snow leopard, what does a snow leopard eat?
Okay, good question. Are you ready for my response?
Yes.
Because every time I respond, you move to another objection.
Of course I will, like you are.
But you don't acknowledge my response.
Oh, I 100% acknowledge your response.
Okay.
I just don't agree with your response. There's a big difference.
Okay.
We can disagree, my friend, but we can still respect each other.
Okay. I'm going to answer your...
Okay.
What was your question? About the leopard?
A snow leopard in Nepal.
Okay.
What does it eat?
A snow leopard is like an animal like that eats in the wild?
You know what a snow leopard is?
A leopard.
It's a leopard.
Yeah, okay. All right, so... You know what the biggest difference between humans and non-human animals are? The biggest difference. There's a lot of differences, but the biggest difference...
Our intellect.
...is that we as humans have this thing called moral agency. We can distinguish between right and wrong.
Can I answer my question?
I am answering it. You're not letting me finish.
Okay.
It's a long response.
All right.
We have the ability to understand right and wrong. Number one. A leopard does not. They do not have moral agency. They act on instinct. And the second biggest difference is that a leopard is a true carnivore who has to eat an animal to survive.
All right. Okay. And what are humans?
I'm going to answer that. Humans are not obligate carnivores. Okay?
I agree with that.
We are
omnivores.
We are omnivores.
100%.
However,
so how do you feed the population?
I can only answer one question at a time.
All right. So let's answer the first one.
I'm not done answering the question.
All right. I'll take that.
So we are omnivores, so that whether God or nature intended it this way, if we are in a situation of survival, we have the option to eat animals or plants.
We do.
Okay. Now, When we are not in a situation of survival, all the nutrients that we need to be healthy, to thrive, and to survive are available in a plant-based diet. We don't need anything from animals to be healthy, to thrive, or to survive. Therefore, when we live in a modern society,
Hey, baby, how are you?
when we live in a modern society where we have access to all of these plant-based foods, then we have a moral obligation to cause the least amount of suffering and harm that we can, and not cause pain, suffering, and death to innocent animals that want to live. That's all.
I understand that.
That's all.
So here's my overall question. All right, let's just say that your message hits, right? And every single human being on every single continent in every single country follows what you're saying, and all they do is eat plants. What happens to our oxygen source? What happens to our carbon dioxide filtration system? What happens to that? Now, I agree that deforestation is a better fucking problem. It's a separate issue, though.
Right.
So,
are you ready for my response?
Yeah, I want to hear your.
It's gonna blow you away.
I doubt it, but I'm willing to hear it.
If every human being on this planet goes plant-based, we have more oxygen and we are more environmentally sustainable. Okay? Because we are killing less plants, we are deforesting less.
But that's where you're wrong.
No, I'm not wrong.
Let me retort.
Go ahead.
So, what's the population of the planet right now?
8 billion.
8 billion. So you have 8 billion people who need to eat nuts to get protein.
Yeah.
Who need to eat chestnuts. Who need to eat whatever they got to eat, right?
Yeah.
How much land do you need to take over to grow that much vegetation? That many nuts, that many apples, that many chestnuts, that many chickpeas.
I'm ready to respond. I understand your question. I don't need no further explanation.
All right. Okay. How much land needs to be taken over?
I'm going to answer this question, and then I'm going to thank you for your time. And I appreciate the conversation. I really do, honestly. Okay. Now,
if you appreciate the conversation, you won't walk away.
We have to end it at some point. Now, listen to me.
No, we don't. We can keep on going.
No, because all of your questions can be answered by researching it on Google. We're not here
Which
to
I
answer.
already have.
We're not here to answer people's questions. We're here to.
Oh, of course not. You don't want to defend your stance.
No, it's not about that. You asked me earlier why we are here.
Yeah.
I explained that we are here to remind people that their actions are not aligned with their values. That's it. I'm happy to answer questions, but I can sit here for 8 hours answering your question, and it's not going to make a difference. I'm here to remind people that their actions are not aligned with their values. I'm going to answer this last question. Can you remind me real quick what it was about?
No. Because you should remember it. We're having a conversation. If you're going to defend your stance, you should know what my question is.
Okay. I don't remember it. Can you briefly remind me what it was?
All right. So, if the entire planet becomes vegan,
I got it.
How do you? Where does the land come from for you in order for you to farm as much?
I just needed a trigger to remind me.
God, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
8 billion people on the planet go plant-based. That means 80 billion land animals that are farmed are no longer bred into existence.
Okay.
Hold on, let me finish.
Go ahead.
That's 10 times the human population that are no longer going to eat plants because they don't exist. So we will have more land available to feed humans because animals are not eating the plants that can be sourced to feed humans.
When was the last time you talked to a farmer in Florida?
On November 17th, 2023.
Okay, and what was your question? What was your conversation?
I don't have a question. What are you getting at?
Okay, so I happen to know farmers in Florida because that's what I do. So the problem with farmers in Florida, whether it's corn, whether it's sugarcane, whether it's tomatoes, or pest control, right?
Is there a question?
Are you going to let me finish?
Yeah, I'm just asking.
Okay. So if pest control is part of the issue, right? And you're going to say we can't kill anything.
I never said that.
So,
don't put words in my mouth.
No. All right, so why is it okay to kill the pests? Why is it okay to kill pests that kill the crops, but not a viable protein source that we all eat?
Okay.
What is the difference?
You ready?
Yes.
Okay. I never claimed that we don't kill. I never made that claim.
We all have to kill.
I never made the claim,
That's how the world works.
and I don't disagree.
You gotta kill something to eat something.
I don't disagree. I explained earlier.
If you're gonna breathe oxygen, you gotta get rid of the carbon monoxide. Something's gotta die.
Let me know when it's my turn.
Oh, go ahead.
I explained earlier that to live vegan simply means to live in a way that seeks to limit cause harm, pain, suffering, and death as much as possible in the current non-vegan world. That's all it means.
That's all it means.
So I never claimed that we don't kill. We do. We are responsible for the death of others. But we try to minimize that as best as possible while we also try to survive.
And I can respect that.
Yeah.
So here's my question.
But
So why are you out here with V for vanilla mask and little TVs that show baby duckies going down a conveyor belt and getting killed? How does that support your view?
this is the absolute last question. Okay.
Oh, is
This
it?
is the last question.
No, we can make it now then.
No, okay, fine. But every time I respond, my friend, you don't acknowledge that response. I talked
No,
about.
I acknowledge your response. I don't agree with it.
You don't agree that
There's a difference.
You don't agree that 80 billion farmed animals will no longer be bred into existence. Therefore, they will no longer eat plants. Therefore, we will.
Of course.
Therefore,
That's what farming is called.
Therefore
That's why
we-
we're eating them.
Therefore-
Because we have to have a food source.
Therefore, I answered your question that we will have more land available to feed humans, not less. More.
No, that won't happen. If you need more, if you're going to become strictly vegan,
It's math.
yeah, I know. I'm very good at math.
80 billion land animals will no longer be eating the Earth's plants.
Now,
Okay.
so what happens to those animals? If they're no longer eating the Earth's
They are
plants,
not being
what
bred
happens to
into
those
existence.
animals?
They're not being bred into existence. You see, it's
But they're going to die.
It's supply and demand.
But they're going to die.
Thank you for your time, my friend. I appreciate you.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No, it's not about that's what you thought.
No,
You
it's
don't
100% what I
It's
thought.
okay. You don't want to listen. I get it.
No, because you don't make no sense. You have no logical response.
So conversation length, remember, our time is valuable. If we spend 1 hour, I used to think when I first started doing outreach, oh my God, I just had a 1 hour conversation with this person. They're going vegan for sure. They spent 1 hour with me? Are you kidding me? They for sure are going vegan. I downloaded all this information to their head. Now I planted a seed. Now they're going to go home and they're going to go vegan. Long conversations do not equal or do not correlate with how well the conversation went. I could have a 2-minute conversation that went really, really well. Okay? So I'm not saying, when somebody walks up, you put the timer on, I'm just saying be aware. It's very important because I still kind of see this in some of our cubes, even with people that know this. Sometimes I see an outreach conversation going for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe they don't realize how long this conversation is going. Be aware of how long it's going, okay? Relative, okay? If you feel like it's going a little bit too long, it's been past 15 minutes, try to wrap it up. Say, listen, I'm sure you got a ton more questions, and I would love to sit here all night and answer all your questions. But honestly, most of your questions can be answered by just Googling it. The information is out there. I'm happy to help you, but really I need to reach more people. So, like I said, I'm just here to help you understand that you're not aligned and to help you make that connection. And that's all I'm here for. So, thank you for your time, blah, blah, blah. Try to wrap it up. Because they'll give you, but what about, and what about, and what about? You can sit there for hours and hours and hours, and they're not going to go vegan because you're not holding them accountable. All you're doing is answering their questions. You're being Google for them. Don't be Google. So try to keep conversations between 7 to 10 minutes is my suggestion, up to maximum 15 minutes, and then try to wrap it up. The Socratic method we talked about. Try to ask open-ended questions. There are times where closed-ended questions are needed and necessary. Sometimes at the end of the conversation, you ask a closed-ended question. Either you get it or you don't. Did you get it? That's a closed-ended question, yes or no. I want to know, do you get it? Okay? So there are times to use closed-ended, but at the beginning when you try to build, what's the word, rapport? When you try to build rapport with somebody, you ask them open-ended questions so that they can feel that, and you have to be genuine, you want to learn more about who they are, so you allow them to expand. If you ask them a yes or no question, they're not going to expand. So at the beginning of a conversation, typically what we say is, we say, hello, how does this make you feel, this footage that you're looking at? How does this make you feel? Then they open up. Now they got to think, and they're going to say, well, it makes me feel horrible. Okay, well, interesting. That's a common response we get, and that's why we're here, actually. We're not trying to make you feel horrible, but we want you to understand, blah, 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 and we go into the conversation, right? So ask open-ended questions at the beginning. Okay, real quick on the you versus we. I used to do this all the time, and it's a type of pandering. It's a type of pandering. You don't want to sound harsh. You don't want them to feel like they're being attacked. So we downplay it by saying we. We generalize and we include ourselves when we say we. We do this to animals. What you're seeing here is what we do to animals. No, I don't do that to animals. I'm no longer a part of that. Don't say we. What you see on these screens is what you do to animals if you're not vegan. You, not we, you. It may sound harsh, but it's the truth. The truth is more powerful than anything else. You don't say we, because we're not part of that anymore. We talked about this.
What about our tax dollars, though? 'Cause our tax dollars.
Yes, there, of course, but that's not something we have control over. I mean, if I encounter somebody and they say, well, yeah, you are actually part of this, blah, 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 blah. Why are you saying you? Then I'll say, like, yes, it's true. Our tax dollars fund animal abuse, but there's nothing I can do about it. There are animal rights activists who are lobbying and trying to get laws changed and blah, blah, and we're trying to move toward a vegan world so that we don't pay for this, blah, blah, but there's nothing I can do about that. Okay? So it's about choice. I don't have the choice. I have to pay my taxes or I go to jail. Okay? We talked about why versus how. The most important thing as activists is we help them understand the why they need to go vegan, not the how. Vegetarianism. When somebody says to me, oh, don't worry about me, I'm vegetarian, I'm on your side. Excuse me? So I'll say, okay, usually what I say is this. Oh, that's interesting. Can you tell me a little bit more about why you went vegetarian? The why. I want to know why they went vegetarian. Did they do it for the animals? Did they do it for health? Did they do it for the environment? Did they do it for other reasons? Why did you go vegetarian? If you don't mind my asking, why did you decide to go vegetarian? Oh, because I don't want to eat animals. Okay, I get that. Why don't you want to eat animals? Because I don't want them to be killed and hurt. Okay, so now I understand something. Maybe they just don't know about the dairy industry and the egg industry, and they think there's no violence or harm or suffering or pain, or maybe they don't understand the basic concept that animals are here on this planet with us, not for us. Even if there was no pain or suffering or death in the dairy industry, we should still not be stealing their milk because it's not ours. And the animals produce that for themselves, not for us. So if they tell me they're doing it for the animals, then I know how to navigate that conversation. Oh, okay, well, maybe you're not aware. I don't immediately say, oh, then you're not aware. That could sound a little bit attacking. I said, maybe, I'm going to guess maybe you're not aware of the cruelty that exists in the dairy and egg industry and how much death there is in the dairy and egg industry. And not only that, there's other industries that have nothing to do with diet. Like if you buy leather, if you buy fur, if you buy wool, if you visit the zoo, if you go to the circus, if you visit SeaWorld, if you buy products that were tested on animals, you are contributing, not only contributing, but every time you spend your dollar, you are creating a demand for this to continue, for this suffering, violence to continue. You are directly responsible for that, and maybe you're not aware of that. So maybe you're vegetarian for the animals, but I'm going to tell you something that maybe you never heard of before. Have you ever heard of veganism? Veganism is an ethical stance against animal use and animal abuse, period. Veganism means that you are what was the first slide? That you are
for animal rights. Veganism equals you are
for animal rights. Exactly. So maybe you're not aware, but like it sounds like your values are you care about not causing suffering to others, including animals. So if that's true, then you're actually vegan at heart. You're vegan at heart, and maybe you just don't have the information or the knowledge about the cruelty that you are funding and supporting. So let me help you with that. So now we enter into an education mode. It's okay. We're going to give them a little bit of education and information. Okay? Maybe you're not aware of that. Now you're aware. Okay? The last thing on vegetarianism, what I said earlier is, when you encounter a vegetarian, our instinct, because we want to be liked, and we want them to listen to us, and we don't want them to walk away, our instinct, and maybe you felt this, okay, our instinct is to say, you know, oh, you're vegetarian? Oh, you're almost there. You're almost there. Okay. Vegetarianism is a diet. Veganism is not a diet. Veganism is a moral, ethical stance. So they are worlds apart. They are not almost there. They are nowhere close to being almost there. So don't pander to them. Don't say you're almost there, good job. Okay? Ask them why they're vegetarian, figure it out, and then have a conversation with them. When you finish a conversation, ask yourself, you know, measure your success. Ask yourself, and it's okay to be honest with yourself and say, oh man, I did not hold this person accountable. I tried to, but then they deflected and I answered the question and I shouldn't have answered it, but I forgot. That's okay. That's how you learn. That's how you get better. That's what I used to do. I used to answer questions and after the conversation be like, oh shit, I shouldn't have answered the abortion question. That went down another path that took 10 minutes. And you know, so be honest with yourself, check yourself, ask yourself, did I hold this person accountable? If the answer is yes, success. If the answer is kind of, but I could have done better, okay, great, success. If the answer is no, I didn't hold them accountable at all, fail. I failed. I have to do better next time. Okay? So do we have any brave volunteers that would like to? Okay? Do you want to be the outreacher or the person being outreached?
Person to be outreach.
The person to be outreached. So I'm with AV. Okay. And what is your objection? Okay. Well, we're not gonna go there. I'm gonna do the whole thing. So a couple of technical things I'm gonna go through. At a cube, the screens are here. Okay. When somebody stops to look at the cube at the screen, give them a chance to absorb what they're seeing. Give them like 30 seconds to a minute. If they stop, do not immediately approach them, because then they're on guard. Oh, what does this person want? What are they trying to sell me? It's kind of like when you go to a department store. You open the door, you walk in, they're like, can I help you with something? And you're like, I just got here. Can you give me a second to look around? You know, you don't want them to feel like there's a sale coming, that you're trying to sell something. So give them a chance to absorb so that they see what's happening. Because I've done this in the past. Like, I approach them too quickly, and I'm like, how does this make you feel? And they're like, how does what make me feel? I don't even know what I'm looking at. Oh, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Please, why don't you take like 30 seconds to 45 seconds, and then, you know, maybe we can have a conversation. So you've been watching for a while. Your stance is already defensive, but that's fine. I'm going to approach you, and I'm going to be like, hello, how are you?
Good.
Good, good. How does this make you feel, what you're seeing on these screens here?
Are you guys vegans?
Well, yeah, we're all vegan here. All of the volunteers are animal rights activists, and we're all vegan.
Okay. Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Do you have pets at home?
Do I have pets at home?
Yeah.
So we don't call them pets, but we call them companion animals. But yes, some of us do have companion animals who are rescues, and we provide home and shelter and love to these animals who otherwise would be on the streets and not survive.
Yeah. Do you know the animals can be vegans? Like your animals eat what they eat.
Okay. So what kind of animals are you talking about?
Cats.
Cats. Are you a cat?
I have a cat.
No, are you a cat?
No, I'm not.
You're not a cat.
But I have a cat.
Okay, okay. So we're not here to talk about what animals should eat or not eat. We're here to help people see what it is that they support and fund by not living vegan. So what cats and dogs can or cannot eat, that's a separate conversation that has nothing to do with what we're here for. Okay? We're here because whether a cat is an obligate carnivore or omnivore or they have to eat animals to survive. That's another conversation. What we're here for is whether you as a human being has to eat animals for your health, sustenance, and survival. Do you have to wear animals to be healthy and survive? Do you have to go to the zoo to be healthy and survive? Do you have to use animals to be healthy and survive as a human? We're not going to worry about what animals do. We can talk about, I can answer that question later, but first I want to focus on your actions as a non-vegan as to whether or not they are necessary. And if you believe they are necessary, we can talk about that. But how your actions contribute and support and fund and create a demand for what you're seeing on these screens. So what's happening on these screens right now? By the way, I asked you how does this make you feel, but I don't think you answered.
Yeah, I feel so bad. I against animal abuse. I don't like that. I don't like see it. Actually, I try to be a vegan, and you know what? It's not for everybody. My body not feel good.
Sure.
After 3 weeks, I start feeling weak, sick, like everything wrong. I can sleep. I pimples here and there.
Gotcha.
And it's terrible.
Gotcha.
You know. And
So let me.
immediately when I start to eat, back to eat meat.
Yes.
Yeah, everything is gone. I'm so energetic and I feel good.
Okay, so.
It's not for everybody.
No, I hear you.
I know your way, what you want to tell me right now. I know everything.
Well, okay. I am somebody that doesn't think they knows everything, but I'm going to share what I think in this situation. You say you feel bad for what's happening on these screens. And you say that you went vegan. If you don't mind my asking, why did you decide to go vegan for a period of time? What was the motivation for that?
Yeah, because I have a cats at home. I like pets.
Oh, okay. So you went vegan because you like animals?
Yeah, I like animals, of course. And what I see on the screen, I don't want to support. I don't want to be part of that.
Okay, perfect. So, beautiful. Okay, so what you see on the screens, you don't support, you don't like it, you are against it, but you feel that your personal experience is that when you decided to go vegan, your health started to deteriorate. Am I understanding correctly? Okay, so that's anecdotal, and I'll talk a little bit about that, but I can give you the exact opposite story because my story is the opposite of that. When I went vegan for the animals, because I did it for the animals, I didn't do it for health, I also did it because I didn't like what I was seeing on these screens and I didn't want to be a part of it. So when I went vegan, I'll tell you a quick little story. Before I went vegan, I used to have pain in my abdomen all the time. And this is true, okay? I would wake up in the middle of the night 4 or 5 times and my girlfriend would be like, oh, again with the pain? And I'm like, yeah, my abdomen, and I would be in pain all the time. I went to go see a GI doctor, all this stuff, nothing helped, nothing helped. I would be at meetings in my office in a conference room and I would be in the meeting and I would be like holding my stomach, trying not to show the pain. And once a coworker of mine said, are you okay? You look like you're in a lot of pain. And I said, yeah, I have a lot of pain in my abdomen, okay? So that was my life. That's how I was living. I just thought the doctors can't help me, nobody can help me. I guess I just have this problem. Then one day I went vegan for the animals because I learned about what happened. And I didn't do it for my health or anything like that. But to make a long story short, after a period of time, I didn't even realize it, but those pains went away.
Oh, yeah?
It just happened. So I'm basically, the reason I'm telling you this is because it's the opposite to your story, right? So one day I was sitting in the conference room and the same coworker said to me, hey, I noticed you're not in pain anymore. That's when I realized that he's right. I'm not in pain anymore. It didn't happen overnight. I just one day realized that I no longer have these pains, and he helped me recognize that these pains went away. And I said to myself, well, what changed? And I'm like, oh, I went vegan. I went vegan. So then when I went to research, like why did these pains go away, I learned that animal protein, like dairy and meat and all that, messes up your hormonal system. It causes inflammation in your body. And so even though I learned this after the fact, I learned that because I stopped eating these products, I started to feel better. Now, that being said, I can be a vegan for the animals and eat Oreo cookies and French fries every day, and I'm technically vegan. But how good is my health going to be?
Bad.
It's going to be bad, right? So veganism and health do not go hand in hand unless you make a conscious effort to be a healthy vegan. But veganism and health has nothing to do with each other, because you can be a healthy vegan or you can be an unhealthy vegan. Now, your story is that you were an unhealthy vegan. Maybe not on purpose, maybe you tried to be healthy, but maybe you didn't have the right resources, maybe you didn't have the right advice, maybe you didn't have the right doctor. I don't know your story. All I know is that the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which consists of over 100,000 of the world's leading experts, stated in a position statement that everybody on this planet can be healthy as a vegan with a properly planned plant-based diet. So maybe you were on a plant-based diet, but maybe it wasn't properly planned, or maybe you made an effort for it to be properly planned, but maybe you didn't go all the way, and so you started to feel bad and you went back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of long-winded. Maybe it's too much.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was too long, but
yeah, but yeah, I agree with you. You're right. But what about my cats?
okay. So once again, your cats and what they eat has nothing to do with your choices. What your cats eat has nothing to do with what you eat and how you live your life. We can talk about the cats, and I can tell you my opinion based on the research that I've done, but that's not why I'm here. What you're trying to do respectfully is, it sounds like you're trying to deflect the conversation. Respectfully, hold on one second, hold on. And you're not the only one that does this. Everybody I talk to does this, okay? They try to deflect and talk about something else, and that's not why I'm here. I'm here to help you recognize that you just told me that you're against animal cruelty.
Yeah, I don't
And
like that.
you don't like it, so you tried and it didn't work out. You need to like get the right resources, but you have a moral obligation to figure it out, okay? Because all of us here, we're all vegan and we figured it out. So you have to do your research and your work and your homework to figure it out. All I'm here to do is to tell you is that you're telling me that you're against it, but your actions are telling me otherwise, okay? Now, I believe in your heart you're against it because you said you tried to go vegan, but veganism isn't really something that you try. Veganism is an ethical stance against animal use and animal abuse, which you are. So you are vegan, you're just not living vegan. That's the only difference. You are vegan, okay?
Yeah.
You are vegan, but you're not living vegan. So all you have to do, the only difference between you and I is that we share the same beliefs. We are against what we're seeing on these screens. We're against animal cruelty. So we share the same beliefs. That makes us vegan. But the only difference between you and I is that my actions, my behaviors, the way I live my life is aligned with my words. Like what I do is aligned with what I say. However, you say this, but do this, the opposite. You're paying for this, okay? You're paying for this. So your actions are here, your values are here, and the only difference between you and I is that your values, which are the same, your actions are not aligned with your values. So my job here as a voice for the animals is to help you recognize that your actions are not aligned with your values. Whether you have difficulties in what and how to eat, that is your responsibility to figure out. I am not here to help you with that. I'm only here to make you recognize that these experts say that you can be vegan. Now it's your job to figure out how.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you so much. I don't want to be part of that anymore.
Okay, perfect. So with that being said, it sounds like you're going to commit to being vegan and to figuring it out. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Yeah? Okay, so wonderful. So now, I have a card here if you like. There's a couple of videos here that I usually recommend to people, and I think you should watch it still. It's Gary Yourofsky's video and Dominion. These are focused on animal rights. But it sounds like you're already there with the animal rights because you're telling me this. But you should watch them anyways because they're very good. But here's there's other resources online. You can go to nutritionfacts.org. Find yourself a vegan, plant-based doctor who is not going to be biased with the meat industry and all that. And I know that you'll figure it out. We all figured it out, and now it's your job and your turn to figure it out. And maybe one day, since you're so passionate about what you're seeing on the screens, maybe one day you can come out and join us or join other groups or start your own group and be a voice for the animals, because the animals don't have a voice. They stand no chance in hell if we don't speak up for their rights. So I encourage you to please, you know, once you go vegan, take this card, go vegan, figure it out, and then come and be a voice for the animals. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Something like that.